Hi guys, this is Andrei. Welcome to the Marketing Innovation Podcast Show. Today we will have a strategy episode, and here with me we have Roland, and we will analyze why marketing to millennials will kill your business, or more specifically, why marketing to millennials as a whole will kill your business, and what to do in order to use this strategy specifically and effectively, and to target the best subgroups for you while growing your business in a sustainable way and in a profitable way. Stay close. Hi guys, welcome to our Marketing Innovation Podcast Show. This is Andrei. I'm here with Roland, our voice specialist. I'm the director of the company, and today we are going to discuss about strategy and more specific about why marketing to millennials will kill your business. So don't take it too seriously for now. It's not that abrupt, but we have some really important points that we want to make through the articles, and they are going to be a very big plus to your strategic overview when thinking about your marketing strategy going forward. So why are we tackling this subject is because by working with a number of our clients in the past years, we have seen mainly in the past months that more and more businesses try to target a younger audience, which is a very good thing. Young people, below 35s, they are definitely a good demographic to target because they are affluent, because they are young, maybe they make more purchases on spot and so on. However, there are some very important things to keep in mind, because what we heard very often is when asking them who do you like your target market to be, many of our clients in the beginning said, well, we'd like to have millennials. But that is not actually enough, because if you are to define a millennial, as most marketing publications do, they are people born between the mid-80s and the mid-90s. So that's probably the people aged between 23 and 37 years old. So when we look at this customer group only from a demographic perspective, we can obviously see that they might not be as homogeneous as possible. And seeing them as a homogeneous group is certainly impact your business in so many ways, and this can end up in a financial disaster as well as a brand disaster and so on. Today we are gonna tackle this issue and see how you can stay away from this, as well as design a marketing strategy and implement the processes that you need in order to make this effective.
Cool. So you being the expert here in the digital side of business, I will ask you some general questions just to learn more about the space, and also to give you the chance to give exact solution for these marketing problems. I would like to start with how would you define a millennial exactly?
So as I mentioned, they are the people aged between 23 and 37 years old. However, they cannot be defined, some of the characteristics are that they are being more accustomed to technology, they are more interconnected, they lived through the technological revolution that has happened in the past, couple of decades. But however, I would like to get a bit more specific here and talking about how this cannot really be seen as a singular segment. So when referring to a single customer segment, given the current fast-moving market conditions, it is essential, mainly as a brand, to have very specific criteria through which you target these people. So what we use here at Marketiu, and is a tool that most marketeers use when defining their target market, we create a customer persona. So this customer persona is the ideal customer profile that you have for a product or for your business. So this customer persona is being built by attaching demographic, psychographic, behavioral, geodemographic characteristics to this person, having her or him represents the ideal customers. So you integrate in this their behaviors in society, where they like to spend their time, where they consume media, where they make purchases, what type of purchases, income, and so on and so forth. So it's many characteristics that go into this. So looking at the people in this broad range, 23 to 37 years old, there are a number of major characteristics that differ and dramatically actually prevent them from being eligible to be categorized as one single group. And probably the first one that I would like to mention is that the times have been changing. So, for example, let's take you as somebody that hasn't been working directly in marketing, but you do have products and you work in our product development. So you are a really big specialist in the voice space. Do you think that customers act the same in their 20s as opposed to in their 30s as a general rule? What technology improvements do you think might have changed?
Yeah, if you think of it, a decade of technology advancements, it's huge. Like 10 years ago, we like just got the first iPhone, and most of people were still using dumb phones like Nokia's, or the smartphones would be the Blackberries with a key and a small touch screen with a stylus to access emails and stuff like that. So if you think of it compared to now, back then you were not able to browse social media on your phone. You were not able to really read the articles on your phone, and even the internet on the phone was just a bad experience. But like in 10 years, everything changed. Like it's still crazy that your phone is your main computing device and main interface with the digital world.
And that's exactly what I wanted to kind of like hear from you. And what I wanted to emphasize here is that people that were born in the early 80s, for example, when they encountered this technological revolution, they were just going out of college. But when they were going through the college or while growing up, basically, they were still using the old way of researching for information. They didn't have the internet into their day-to-day lives. If they wanted to connect to their friends, they should have done it via, phone, like traditional phone or face-to-face. While as people that were born in the mid-90s or early 90s, when they grew up, they had internet in their day-to-day lives. Most probably they had a computer. By the time they entered college, they would have surely a mobile phone. They grew up with social networks and so on and so forth. So obviously the way that they are used to consume media, the way that they are used to do research, and even the way that they make purchases is very much different. And this also has an impact on the way that they consume advertising. So for example, the millennials that are being born in the 80s, so let's call them a bit more mature millennials, they are now entering family life, possibly being married or even with children, while the 90s kids, to say so, they are just finishing university and entering the real job market. And that's another very important element for brands to keep in mind when they think about the millennial group, because these two subcategories of millennials will have very different purchase needs, purchase behaviors, as well as disposable income, because somebody just entering a job market won't have that much money to spend on things that are not absolutely necessary. Probably they won't have too much money for luxury products, while as people entering family life, might do. A couple of things again that they are very important in the way that they are consuming and developing relationships with brands is because of the life stage of each of these potential customers. A person below 25 would be looking for experiences and social values more than other things in brands, and this is a thing backed up by research. Mintel has been doing a lot of reports on this and how the younger millennials tend to develop relationships with brands that are giving back to society and having positive values, enhancing the experience of that brand and the emotional connection as opposed to the practical things. And this is exactly, very much different to the older millennials, which value very much the practicality of the things and the endurance, and even the science fiction elements again in the advertising message. So for example, Star Trek or Star Wars or this kind of things that were trendy when they grew up, and they are kind of like remembering from back when they were
like
kids.
here I would like to add, look at Pokemon Go. Why do you think it exploded? Because they accessed these small parts of nostalgia in us, and made us re-engage with the brand and with the game we all grew up with. Like we used to play Pokemon on Game Boys and Nintendo devices, and while adding this new AR feature to the game, it kind of it used the millennials as a platform for re-engaging with the Pokemon universe, and also brought the new generation that grew up with mobile phones and AR, and would be more interested in AR, the AR feature of the game. So they combined this and created this amazing product that just exploded, because they targeted two different as you said, the older generation of the millennials with the newer one, and they managed to cover the entire spectrum of the millennium plus the generation Z, I think they're called now. Now if you look at the majority of the players, most of them are generation Z, but the big explosion happened because of the millennials that try to re-engage with their childhood by playing the game.
Yeah, but it's a super good example, and it's also one of the recent things that has happened. But however, as you mentioned, they had to kind of like shrink their target market in order to be able to grow and survive, because there were the drivers, then the adopters, and then kind of the ones that are driving forward. And this is not necessarily something identical to the people that kind of like were the very early adopters, which were the millennials in our case.
I wanted to ask you, what do you think about the market channels? What do you think their attention is at the moment, and how do you think this is gonna evolve?
Amazing question. So this is also the third point that I wanted to make in terms of the differences, because as we mentioned, a part of the millennials was growing up with more technology than the others when growing up. So thinking beyond the core product benefits, which are like for example the food, the fact that it fills you up, or the car that is being transporting you from place A to place B. Many times, mainly if the added brand value is high, so if a product is being perceived more luxury, the augmented product characteristics are the ones that make a difference in the purchase decision for most people. So while thinking about these core differences between the two age poles of the broad millennial and the ways that they consume advertising and they integrate technology in their lives, for the under 25s or for the under 27s even, they grew up with social media in their lives, and because of this they were very much exposed to many people all the time. So this made them be more prone to being influenced by instant gratification and being in the center of attention all the time. We can see this in influencers online nowadays, and in the way that people post and paint their perfect lifestyles on Instagram and Facebook and so on and so forth. So they place a very high value on the peer approval and their online social brand. And they are much more open to purchasing online than the older groups, so because of the technology bit. But they don't have such a strong purchasing power, but they influence their peer group much more at the moment than the older ones, the older millennials, if they are strong ambassadors within their group of friends, let's say. However, kind of like this is a shift. So it's a shift from purely online to online social, where the peer approval and getting information from your friends online through social media is becoming much more popular than the traditional way of looking for information online that the older millennial demographic was accustomed to. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
yeah. So
how do you like taking in consideration all of these? How do you think brands can innovate in targeting marketing and making their strategy more effective?
Okay. Let me emphasize something a bit before we go to that, because this is exactly the direction that I wanted to take the discussion into.
Okay.
So kind of finding a mix. But it's very important now to consider that in terms of the elements of the marketing mix, if these younger millennials are more prone to, being influenced by people online, or have a smaller attention span, or don't consume Facebook as much as Instagram, is certainly something to keep in mind and apply this to kind of like the same concept when targeting the older ones. So making sure that you understand how they consume media and what's bringing value to them. So these are kind of like the main reasons why I wanted to emphasize how important it is to not have a singular view of the millennials. And then the risks, first of all, would be that targeting all these people at once and hoping this will work will result in a very weak brand identity, because of the above mentioned reasons that they value different things at different times. Then it's gonna be very hard for you to develop relationships as a brand with either of them, because you will not match perfectly either of their value sets of value. So by not doing so, you are at a very high risk that competitors who do this correctly, so your competitors will see this as an advantage, and therefore you will lose a lot in terms of the branding, and this will automatically result in loss in sales. So the solution here would be to focus on a smaller millennial niche segment and design the mix of values and brand message to directly and deeply appeal to them first, or develop a portfolio of products under the same brand, and for each product have a certain persona that you want to target through your messages. And now, answering your question, Roland, which is probably one of the very big points of our episode today, is how to choose the best ways in which you market to them and the marketing mix needed to reach them best, right?
Yep.
So I would say that if you target the whole group as a whole, your marketing effectiveness is gonna be low, much lower than it can be if you play it smart. Because as we mentioned, different demographics consume different types of media in different ways. So a very simple example would be taking a 35 years old and a 25 years old and analyzing the way that they scroll through social media. Probably, if you have a bigger brother or somebody aged around 35, you'd see that they tend to watch everything that is on their Facebook feed, and then they tend to kind of read through the post and scroll at a much lower pace. While as somebody aged 25, let's say, they just go through their feed like crazy. Like they just stop when they might see something important. But this is a very big consideration for brands, because this means that if they target the younger demographic, then they have to have a very strong hook that offers them a very limited time frame where they can hook the attention and actually have these people consume the media. Now, going further into the social media bit, now that we open the subject, Instagram is probably the best medium for advertising to the younger subgroup rather than Facebook, which is more used by the older group at the moment. And then considerations should be whether you want the advertisement to be desktop or mobile again, because the younger audience is much more mobile oriented, while as the older subgroup of millennials are more kind of like desktop consumers. So that's also due to their life stage as well, because they probably tend to work much more in an office, have a settled life, maybe more or less. So while this is only an example, the insight is valid on a broader scale, because the way that they grew up, the older millennials might also be more consuming more outdoor advertising or print advertising. They watch more TV than the younger ones who tend to consume more media on demand, such as Netflix or Spotify. Spotify is a good Spotify is a good channel for the older millennials as well, but it's just a matter of how they consume advertising. And this is something to always keep in mind. So, for example, if you target the younger millennials and you have a very good customer persona, many times TV will not be a good channel for you to advertise, and that's a very, very big chunk of money that you can use and put into digital operations or digital systems of advertising that, for example, we do here at Marketiu to help brands engage with customers on a deeper level and automate very many of these interactions in order to create this strong brand image as well as tailored customer message. So I know it was a long answer, but does it answer the question?
Yeah, for the listeners now, how do you summarize these all things brands should take into consideration in just like 30 seconds? If you can give a big an overview of the whole topic.
Yeah, sure. So one thing would be to find exactly the niche market that you want to go into and then tailor a core marketing channels mix. So the minimum of channels that you need in order to kickstart your communications. And then tap into the power of email marketing automation and sales funnel optimization. Retarget your social media ads to your website visitors, because this way you'll save a lot of money and engage on different mediums with people landing on your website and are actually interested in your products, as well as don't try to please everybody, but rather try to design to split up your portfolio of products into singular products targeted at singular markets and design a marketing communications mix for each singular smaller group. I think that's the essence of what we were discussing now and the way in which you can target millennials in a profitable way and future-proof if you want.
Cool. Yeah. Should we wrap up?
Yeah, let's do so. It was an amazing episode, and wrapping up, I would just want to emphasize again the importance of millennials as a customer group, but also the importance of understanding how different certain mini groups within millennials are. So definitely go and target them if they are the customers that are matching your offering, but just make sure that you have, because you don't have unlimited marketing budgets, make sure that you choose the best channels to target them, and make sure for each of your products you consider branding as one of your most important assets. So create, attach the right values to the brand and then market them through the right ways to the right customers at the perfect time. And this is the way that you're gonna win. Automate a lot of your messages and don't try to run singular marketing campaigns on platforms, but rather try to create engines and systems, if you like, of multiple campaigns or on multiple channels that are being designed around the customer life cycle and where they are in their buying journey with your brand. And again, this is the way that you're gonna win and you're gonna have a sustainable growth, because that's where the industry is going and that's where the opportunity is at the moment. Awesome. So this was it for today. Roland, thank you very much for joining me on the podcast show today. And guys, thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you for all the love and for keeping up to date with what we do here as well. As always, if you have anything that you'd like to find out more, just reach out to us. If you have any questions, we'd be super, super happy to help you. And otherwise, just share the word about what we do here, and looking forward to meeting you on the next episode. Keep up the great work and best of luck.